Session layer is layer 5 in OSI model, and in this video I will discuss the session layer and the attack vectors related to this layer. So session layer acts as moderator for network dialogues or logical connections between end user to applications or from applications to application. So it is responsible to set up, coordinate, and gracefully closing of the connections, for example, between a web browser and a web server. So session layer ensures that session persists long enough to complete the task. For example, if a file is being downloaded or there is a video streaming. So its function include the dialog control for the session and session synchronization and recovery and a remote procedural call. So in dialog control, session layer is responsible to decide that who communicates when to prevent data collision, and this is done using different modes of operations. So there are three modes of operation which I will discuss. Then it is responsible for synchronization and recovery of the session. So it uses the checkpoints during data transfer to resume interrupted sessions. For example, reconnecting a dropped VPN without restarting it. So remote procedure call or RPC is responsible for service request and responses between applications. For example, a task is locally created by the application, but it is triggered on a remote server. Certain examples include the APIs or application programming interfaces or distributed databases or cloud computing and the traffic between microservices or the session between microservices. So there are different modes of communication for dialog control. For example, the full duplex, which is a bidirectional session, and this bidirectional traffic can happen at the same time or simultaneously. Then there is half duplex. It means that one device can communicate at a time, but this communication is two-way or bidirectional. And in simplex, this communication is only unidirectional or in a single direction. For example, video conferencing app uses full duplex, while IoT sensors may use half duplex. Now there are certain attack vectors related to session layer, and mostly the attack vectors target the lower layers, that is layer 2, 3 and 4, that is data link layer, network layer and transport layer, or the higher layer, that is layer 7 or application layer. But normally the session layer is too abstract to find vulnerabilities by the hacker. However, there are certain attack vectors related to this layer as well. And mostly these attack vectors are related to the compromise of session authentication while a session is being established. So what we can do is we can use the TLS or Transport Layer Security 1.3 version or HTTPS only cookies or short session timeouts. Then this is SMB, which stands for server message block. So this protocol also operates at session layer, and it is responsible for file or print sharing on a network. So its older version was NetBIOS. However, this protocol is also vulnerable, and there was an eternal blue vulnerability or exploit which was used in 2017 attack on Ukraine infrastructure. So this the malware is known as NotPetya, and it was a DOS attack, and this malware was actually a virus. So it spread over the Ukraine infrastructure and also globally as well, and it caused around $10 billion of losses. So what we can do is we can regularly patch the SMB protocol uh, as per the issued patches by Microsoft. Now this is a remote procedure call, and there is also a ransomware attack known as WannaCry, which happened in 2017, mostly in UK, and it affected 200,000 systems globally in 150 countries. So this WannaCry ransomware encrypted the data, and it exploited the remote procedure call or RPC and SMB vulnerable version, that is version 1. So if you are using this SMB version 1, you have to upgrade it or patch it, or otherwise if these protocols are being activated but these are not used, so you can disable it as well. Now NetBIOS, which is an older protocol to SMB, so it is a legacy Windows file or print sharing protocol, and there are certain denial of service attack or credential theft attack related to NetBIOS. So similarly you can disable it, and you can use different access control mechanism, for example firewalls or Kerberos authentication. Then this is network file sharing, which is a protocol on Linux or Unix operating systems. So it is also vulnerable to unauthorized access if it is misconfigured. Then there are certain attacks related to session layer on VPN connections, where you are using a legacy or weak encryption protocols. For example, this is SSL secure socket layer, and its new version is TLS, transport layer security. So SSL is vulnerable, and also the early version of TLS, that is TLS 1.1 and 1.2. So you have to use the TLS 1.3. So this was all. Thank you.